All right. Good morning, everybody. Yes, I'm back. And the weather, I feel like, hasn't really changed a whole lot since I've been out. I don't know if it's a good or bad thing. What a sort of strange October. October usually is our dry month around here, but this one's really dry. And we've already had a trace officially of snow for the season. Of course, it was in the form of graupel, that soft hail that we had it was about a week ago in the area, but officially goes down as an ice event or snow. So same with hail. If we were to get hail, it would go down as a trace of snow as well. So not too often that we have that report that way, but we got it out of the way. I'm happy. All right. So welcome to the blog. I am a wave meteorologist, Brian Goode, in case you forgot me. Quick update on, of course, how we're doing here and the current setup. Obviously, everyone's want to know about when's something going to change. I get that. This is usually the season of change. As a lot of you that are veterans to the area know of our weather and our particular climate, you got to be very patient with winter's arrival, and it's usually a tease, sometimes two, before winter really wants to try to settle in. So around here, it's and especially in the past, I would say 10 to 15 years, it's been very difficult to have the seasons locked in where they need to be. Everything's been kind of out of whack. You kind of have a lot of flip-flops that take place, and I don't see any sign right now that this year's going to be any different, which, of course, leads us to the all-important countdown to I was going to say the blog, but no, to winter. 61 days until the winter solstice. Oh, it'll be here before you know it. But you got to keep in mind, as we head to the winter outlook, someone already mentioned earlier, we've got to get ready, of course, for the winter forecasts, which will be out Halloween night coming up. Can you believe it's next week? Next week is Halloween. Crazy. The winter forecast will be out on the Wave weather app on the blog, so make sure that you have it downloaded if you want to see especially that snow map that everyone loves to look at each and every year. Still working on the details on this, as always the case. It's really tough to get one out by Halloween. It's a lot easier, obviously, once you get into late November and December, not because of what you think. You're thinking, oh, yeah, because it's already in winter. Pretty easy to start predicting it when you're in the winter season and snow's coming like a week later. I get that. It's actually a lot of data and pattern recognition as far as the weather patterns across the globe that repeat themselves. A lot of that data really is sampled in the month of October. Starts about the last week of September, first week of October. So we're only gathering about a 3 to 4 week worth of period of data to really focus on the winter forecast. And you can predict in that fashion. At least the data has shown that the October pattern does have a strong signal for the winter outlook. And you're thinking, well, does that mean it's going to be warm and dry for the winter? Not necessarily. I'm talking about the global pattern, not particularly here. So I'll explain into the coming outlook for next week for all the weather enthusiasts who want to know. I don't want to get too far in the weeds, although I'm going to give you a little bit of a preview coming up here in just a second. All right, today, obviously, it's another day where, we have no clouds. So, in fact, the sun's not really all the way up to the west coast here, so you barely even see anything out there into the Rockies. The radar fairly quiet. So the only thing really that's of weather interest that's been getting a lot of attention has been the tropics, and mainly for Cuba. And you can't really see it, but we have Oscar that has been kind of doing its own little thing here over the past couple of days, especially over the weekend, or in the Bahamas into eastern Cuba. Still tropical storm and still expected to linger in the southeastern Bahamas for the rest of the week before it finally just kind of gives out. And it kind of lingers even beyond the extended outlook, but I don't see any sign of anything coming toward the United States. We have too much of a pattern flow coming in from the west and northwest as of late that these tropical systems really just have a tough time getting to the northwest. And that's not a bad thing, and that is normal for tropical systems to start having much more of that recurving look to them than coming right into the lower 48. But we'll keep an eye on it, especially for those of you that have vacation interests. Some may be on a cruise in the Bahamas. Western Bahamas look okay. Eastern Bahamas, not so much. What does stand out in the lower 48, if you look carefully, is this little spin. Low pressure with some snow into the Rockies. This is not even very exciting for them, but it's something. So I was trying to find some of the cameras there. I don't have any. I believe it's not too far away from Steamboat Springs area, which is very popular ski resort, right? But it is snowing there. Winter weather advisory is out for that area for the snow. But notice the spin of the low. There's not a lot of movement to it. And that's the storyline for a lot of our weather systems. It's just very, very slow change in evolution. So what's going on? Well, the cold air itself is locked in across the Arctic, as you would normally expect for this portion of October. It builds up in October into October. Snow begins to build up, although running a little slow on that. But snow tries to build up more into Siberia. And this is key. You got to build up the snowpack into the eastern side here of Russia. That is key to get impacts as far as very cold Arctic outbreaks that you snow lovers want that have to cross over to allow for us to get cold air into the lower 48. So at the moment, this is all what we call a positive Arctic oscillation. It's one of the teleconnections, one way we can look at weather patterns, generally about 2 weeks out is about our window for that. But it is a positive right now, Arctic oscillation. And I thought I had it. You know what? I think I forgot to add it in the system here. Let's see. Hang tight. Give me 1 second. I didn't add it, but it'll take me no time. Well, maybe I did add it. Hold on. No, I didn't add it. Okay, hold on. Let me get it added. You're like, Brian, you okay? I'm okay. It's, the first day back in a while. You know how it is. Kind of got to get everything organized again. The Arctic oscillation is one of the bigger tools, and we can track that, as I mentioned, about 2 weeks out in general. There's some data, including the Euro, that will allow you to do a little bit longer than that, although it becomes a little more less reliable at that point. So what I'm going to show you is going to be the Arctic oscillation outlook. And again, it's one of many teleconnections that we look at. In this particular case, you want it to be negative. That would indicate that the colder flow is crossing over the northern pole and at least is available to be pulled into lower 48. Doesn't always necessarily mean it will. There's other parts to that storyline that have to grab it and then pull it down, but at least it has to be there first. If it's not there, then you're just grabbing stale cold air, and that really doesn't change our weather pattern dramatically. But notice Arctic oscillation, at least through Halloween, is positive quite a bit. Into the positive category, right? So that makes sense. Everything's locked up. We get into Halloween and around Election Day, and that is when we start to get into a near neutral or negative pattern that will carry into November. I don't necessarily look at November's outlook when I do the winter forecast. I focus more into mid-December and onward, all the way through March. And the reason for that is that because the winter forecast comes out on October 31st, it seems weird to not talk about November when it's already within our 10-day outlook at that point, right? When we get into the forecast. So I always try to keep November out of the storyline and include it in the short-term outlook. And that's the reason why I think November, and I think it looks to be Election Day, roughly Election Day, that we will start to see some things change into the Eastern United States. But until then, I don't see a lot happening. It's going to be very, very quiet. And thank goodness we're in the dry season, because if we were having this in the summer, obviously the dryness would have much more of an impact agriculture-wise, and we'd have much more of an issue of burn bans. It's still possible we could get back into burn ban territory, especially if we get any gusty winds with this very dry pattern, all these leaves that are falling. But overall, we're doing okay. The rain from Helene actually put us in a good spot to get through this. All right, here's the futurecast in the short term. Quiet today, no problems, in 70s. Tomorrow, another good-looking day, a little bit warmer. There is a front on Wednesday that settles in, and right now, other than maybe a sprinkle or a brief shower, it's a horizontal front. There's not a whole lot that's going to happen because there's no flow coming in from the Gulf of Mexico. It's basically a flow coming in from the northwest when it moves in, west-northwest. That's not a good flow to get moisture here. So it's going to be moisture-starved. So it will reset the temperatures a tad for the middle of the week before we bounce back up to another warm spell. That's one thing I think you guys will notice, as you'll see in the 10-day. We do have quite a bit of a roller coaster ride on temperatures, but we're getting that without a lot of weather drama, which also means not a lot of rain. But we do have some ups and downs, so it's worth talking about so you guys are not caught off guard, right? So the Wednesday front, not too worried about on rainfall. The one on Friday that moves in has a little bit more of a west-southwest flow to it, so it tries to scoop up. It's moving too fast If it was going just a tad slower, it may have a little bit more time to throw in some showers, maybe some thunderstorms into the mix. But it's moving too fast. So therefore, it's mainly a temperature front. We're going to go warm, perhaps lower 80s on Friday to barely getting in the 60s this weekend. If you want another cool weekend to enjoy all the fall events, get outside and pick your pumpkin still. It's the last weekend of Halloween. It does look dry and it does look chilly. Lows more likely will have a chance to get back in the 30s again. And barely even hit a 60 or so for daytime high. So great weather for haunted houses and pumpkin patches, whatever you want to do. It's going to look great this weekend. The next few days, a little more feeling like late summer than fall as we get warm, but we'll make up for it for the weekend. Next week is Halloween week. And it does look fairly dynamic in temperature again. I think we're going to flip the cool wave that arrives Saturday and Sunday. We're going to flip that right back upside down again and allow for a rapid amount of warming just before Halloween. And I think the wind is going to be a much stronger issue with this setup. I think 25, 35 mile per hour wind gusts for a couple of days will be coming our way for next week. The question I've got here for this system is we have a boundary that develops in what we call a baroclinic zone. It's basically where you get your really warm air and your really cold air kind of meeting up. A boundary forms here. The models, though, don't know if they want to develop a low pressure along the front or not. As I mentioned, everything's moving fairly fast here in the northern pieces. So getting development is possible, and that would be very close to Missouri or Illinois. But I think if it were to develop, it would be slow to not only develop, but slow to get out of here. So that puts a lot of question marks on Halloween right now. If it's a slower system, Halloween will be quite warm and windy, perhaps in the 80s, and then showers and thunderstorms, and maybe even something on the stronger thunderstorm side of the spectrum will have to be watched as we get into maybe the first day or so of November. If it's more of an open wave, which basically means there's no low that has a chance to form on the front's going to be moving fast. More than likely, it'll be in and out of here before Halloween. And there will be some rain and thunder, but the weather drama will be kept down with it. And there will be at least a cool wave that will approach. This will be a teaser to what will eventually be this setup that will evolve into November. November's around here don't always get too exciting. I think the last one that seems exciting to me was probably the ice storm. You guys remember what year that was? 2018, I believe. Somewhere around that area is when we'll likely get it's when we had the ice storm, but the leaves still in the trees back in November at that point. I don't see anything like to that level. I'm not trying to compare that. I'm just saying that I think it's going to be a little more of an active November than we've had in previous years. And it really will be the Halloween week system. There'll be a kind of a key player on that. But for right now, we're going to just increase the rain chance toward Halloween with warm and breezy conditions, and then we'll just see what happens as the week evolves there. All right, let me get to the 10-day and then get to some of your questions here, if you have any at all. When are the 40s and 50s? Well, that's core of winter, especially 40s there, Adam. So that's a little more into late December and January that we normally would see that. So we got some time. Remember, Christmas Eve last year, I believe, was our warmest Christmas Eve. I think we had on record 68 or 69 degrees last year. So it's hard to lock into a pattern for long. It's all about the ups and downs in weather now. It's not so much long-term cold winter from months on end. It's, when we have these dramatic flips, what happens when that takes place? That's what really a lot of weather is about, it seems like these days. Let's see. Brad, can we still see the comments? I'm not entirely sure. I've been out of the loop on that. I know it's been visible in the horizon here the past few nights, but I don't know if it still is or not. I'll have to check on it, so I apologize. I looked briefly. I think the Northern Lights was the last thing that was going on, and I've had a lot going on since then, so I haven't had a chance to look. I haven't had a chance to look up, which is kind of weird, right? Let's see. Have we had enough of the freeze to kill the ragweed pollen? Yes and no. It's not uniform when freezes take place. I have yet to hit the freezing mark at my house. 34 has been the coldest, so technically you can still get the pollen to survive that. Frost sometimes can do it, especially a killing frost. But it wouldn't surprise me that you still probably get some allergy issues because of that. And if you're allergic to leaves too, as I am, then you definitely will be sneezing for a while. Okay. Everyone looks okay? Good, good. All right. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to leave it at that for now. And I'm with you guys all week here. So we'll see how this trends for Halloween week. I think that's going to be probably our main focus is going to be how next week will evolve, because I just don't see a lot happening in the short term until then. All right, guys. Good to see you all. Miss y'all. Behave yourselves. See you coming up on midday at 11 a.m.